Hey, it's Miss Marat here with a little review on finding area of two-dimensional shapes. So we're going to be using these areas later in the unit, so it's important that you review how to find those areas and then just practice using the formulas for them. So we've got four figures here, and you should be taking these notes as I'm going through the video. If I'm going too fast, you can always pause the video, get your notes down, and then start it back up again. So we're looking at rectangles, parallelograms, and then triangles and circles. All right, so for rectangles and parallelograms, they have the same formula for area. So in a rectangle, the area is equal to the base times the height. And so when we talk about the base and the height, those are perpendicular lengths. So because this is a rectangle, it ends up also being like length times width, which is probably what you've learned in the past. So this would be the base, and this would be the height of that rectangle. And again, you find the area by just multiplying those two together, the base times the height. So for example, if I have a rectangle, like, let's say it's like this, and it is a rectangle, has a base of 2.5 and a height of maybe, let's say 7, then I would find the area by multiplying 2.5 by 7. So 2.5 times 7, 2.5 times 7 is 17.5. So this would have an area of 17.5. And I'm going to say square units. I don't have like an actual unit on here. And so if the unit is missing, like it doesn't say centimeters or inches or anything like that, then you can just use the unit of square units. And so units with a little 2 exponent is how you know that those are square units. All right, so that's just a basic rectangle. In a parallelogram, the area is also equal to base times height. And so in this parallelogram, here's the base. And then height always refers to the perpendicular height. So we need a perpendicular right there. And then that is the height of the parallelogram. Okay, so an example here, let's say I have a parallelogram, and like maybe this is 5 centimeters, and this is 6 centimeters. Well, the height is gonna, or the base is gonna be 5, right? That's the base, but the height is whatever this distance is. Let's say it's 4 centimeters. So even though I have the 6 right here, I'm only going to use the 5 and the 4 to calculate the area. All right. So again, the 5 is the base and the 4 is the height of that parallelogram. And so the area is equal to 5 times 4, which is 20. And then these are square centimeters since I gave them each a unit. All right, so rectangles and parallelograms, they have the same formula for area. All right, moving on to triangles. So the first triangle looks a lot like what we've been working with. This is a right triangle. This one is not a right triangle, so we'll get to it in just a minute. But the formula for the area of a triangle is, you can either say 1/2 base times height or base times height divided by 2. And the reason for that is, if you think about it, this triangle is half of the rectangle. If you fill in this empty space, you get a rectangle, and so the triangle is half of it. So that's why it's base times height divided by 2. All right, so again, we have to be considering only perpendicular lengths for base and height. So I'm just going to go ahead and use this one for an example. So let's say the base is, let's say 9 inches, and the height is 4.5 inches. Then the area of this triangle would equal the base, 9, times the height, 4.5, divided by 2. All right, and so 9 times 4.5, and then I'm going to divide that by 2. So 20.25. So this one is 20.25, and they're square inches. All right, on the rectangle, or sorry, the triangle below that, it's not a right triangle. This is the base. Let's say it's 10 millimeters. And the height is going to come from the vertex opposite the base and then perpendicular to it. So let's say this is, I don't know, how about 5.2, also millimeters. All right, so to find the area of this triangle down here, it's equal to the base of 10 times the height of 5.2, and then divide the answer by 2. And so 10 times 5.2, and then divided by 2. And I just did the, oh, oops, I used the wrong button. Sorry, 10 times 5.2, and now divide by 2. So 26 square millimeters. All right, and then the last shape on here to find its area is a circle. And in order to find the area of a circle, you just need to know its radius. So the radius is the distance from the center to the edge of the circle. You know that. And so the formula for area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. All right. So all we need to know on a circle, again, is just the radius in order to determine its area. So for this circle here, that's actually a pretty good circle. Let's say it has a radius of, let's say 2 centimeters. Okay, so its area is equal to pi times 2 squared. Well, I know 2 squared is 4, so I'm going to give 2 answers for the area. The exact value of the area is 4 pi, because 2 squared is equal to 4, and pi is an irrational number. So this would be the exact value of the area, or about, let's see here, this calculator has a pi button. It's this little button right here. See, it has a little blue pi right there. And so to calculate 4 pi, I just type the 4, and then the second button followed by this button's called the caret. So see how it typed in a little pi there for me? And so 4 pi is approximately 12.566. And these were centimeters, so those are square centimeters. All right, there's one more shape that is going to come up in the practice I give you that isn't on this note sheet. and that is a trapezoid. So let's just add it at the bottom. Okay, so in a trapezoid, it has an interesting formula because what happens is a trapezoid will look like this, where you have two parallel sides and two non-parallel sides. So something like that, okay? So in a trapezoid, we call this base 1 and base 2. And then the height is going to, again, be the perpendicular distance. And so what happens in a trapezoid is we have to do a little extra to figure out its area, all right? So when I think about this trapezoid, it reminds me mostly of like a parallelogram, because if I were to take this distance right here, I'm going to use my other pen, take this distance right here and put it on the top, and then this shorter distance, add it to the bottom, what happens is it makes a parallelogram where these are congruent trapezoids. So see how now the entire length of the base is base 2 plus base 1, or base 1 plus base 2, because I added those lengths on. So if we find the area of this bigger parallelogram, then we just divide it by 2 to get just the trapezoid, the part that we want. So the formula for the area of a trapezoid is base 1 plus base 2, then you multiply it by the height, and then you divide it by 2. All right, so I probably have just barely enough room on here to get an example in. Squeeze it in right here. So here's my example where I'm going to have bases and height. Okay, so I'm going to assign the height a value of 4. Base 1 is 3. Base 2 is, let's say, 7. So to find its area using this formula, oh gosh, 3 plus 7 times 4, divide the answer by 2. 3 plus 7, I know that's 10, times 4 is 40. 40 divided by 2 is 20. So the area of this parallelogram is 20 square units. So hopefully you had better luck finding room for that than I did. All right, so that concludes the review of area formulas that you have hopefully learned before. If not, maybe for the first time. And now you're going to do an assignment where you get to practice using these formulas. All right, I will see you tomorrow. Have a great day.